Now, when I went down there, I think it was 1984, late 1984 to book, because Dusty had just left to go to Mid-Atlantic, but gutted the territory. He took everybody who was anybody plus himself. Well, hell, he took all the drawing power. So when I went down there, brother, those buildings were empty. Even the Tampa Armory, nobody there. And I looked out there, and Eddie come up to me and said, "Well, can you do anything with it?" I says, "Well, I'll try." And that's what I did. And it took me about at least 3 months to even get the people back watching it again. And then it kind of took off. But unbeknownst to me, was Eddie was having financial difficulties. And one night, it was Super Bowl Sunday, 1985. We had worked in Orlando, but an afternoon show because the Super Bowl was at night. And then at the end of the show, we got the word that Eddie Graham has attempted to kill himself by shooting himself, but he wasn't dead. And then they told that he didn't only shoot himself one time, he shot himself twice. Now, can you imagine being so determined to die that you're willing to shoot yourself twice in the mouth or in the head? And that's what he did. And then they put him on life support. And then they pulled the plug about, I don't know, 2 days later or a day later, because, his brain was showing no activity, but his body was still hanging in there. And I remember Dusty coming in for the funeral. I think they took him off the life support maybe on a Monday, because on a Wednesday I went into the office. That's the day we did TV, and Dusty was there in my office because it had been Dusty's office before. So when I walked in, Dusty was sitting behind the desk, which he still considered his desk. So I sit down, and he started talking about Eddie and the problems that he was having. I still remember. I'm kind of remembering what he's trying to say to me. He said, "Dutch Mantell." We had just had a sellout in Sarasota. It was me and Flair. We had a sellout, and I remember I was sitting there, and Dusty was sitting. I was behind the desk, and he said, "Dutch Mantell." He said, sellout in Sarasota, baby. That's a hell of a thing, baby. Hell of a thing. But it says, "It's not the record, baby." He said, "I set the record there." Somehow it had to go back to being Dusty in the spotlight. He said, "I drew 13,895 motherfucking dollars." But I didn't. But I had more people in my show than Dusty had at his, because I didn't know it at the time. Because one of the guys told me, he said, "Yeah, Dutch, but he raised prices." And I'm thinking, damn, you mean I have the power? I was a booker. I have the power to raise prices? Hell, I didn't know that. They didn't tell me. But even though, I had a sellout, but he had a big money house because he raised the prices. But he said, "It's a hell of a thing, baby. Hell of a thing. Sarasota, Robards Arena. Sell it. 13,895 motherfucking dollars." And I ended up telling this to Cody one day. He was on a trip coming back from somewhere in WWE. And I told him that story. Oh, he loved that story. So, but Dusty was a good guy. And Eddie and was a good guy too. Good guy to work, because Eddie knew what it was like to not make any money in the wrestling business. He wasn't making any money then. I mean, he was making money because there was no money. If you were paid out of the gate, you weren't making any money at all because the territory was that bad because everybody was gone. Because I've always said to get people over, it takes time. You can't throw it all at them at one time. It's a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit. And now when you're trying to get one guy over, now you can be working on getting another guy over, another guy over, another guy over. And finally, and Buddy Fuller had he said a simple deal is you push one good guy for 4 weeks, and he talks about this other bad guy, and you push this one bad guy for 4 weeks. He talks about the good guy, and then finally you throw them together. That's how you draw money. So, and that does work, I think, if you put all your emphasis on that.